Alright, hey Tumblr, it's Laura. Hope everyone's having a really great summer. I'm really excited to do my third summer young adult book review video. I'm working my way through the list of Prince Award winners, specifically on a quest to find really great book recommendations for my students and to open them up to new books that they might not ordinarily have been exposed to. So I did two previous videos. If you want to check those out, you can scroll down. They're right down on my Tumblr. This week's book is one that I was really excited to read. I had read a lot of great recommendations. It's called Shipbreaker. I'm probably going to butcher the author's last name, but let's give it a shot. We're going to go with Paolo Bacigalupi. So hopefully that's like marginally close. This book was the National Prince Award winner for 2011, and it was also a National Book Award finalist. And I had read lots of great things about it, so I figured I would check it out. It really is kind of outside my comfort zone as a reader. It's kind of fantasy, very action-packed adventure story. That's not really my taste typically. But I'm really trying to push myself outside my comfort zone so I can find great books to make recommendations to all different groups of students. So I'm going to give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a great adventure story, really well written, really interesting kind of multidisciplinary connections that it opens up, which I'll talk about more later on. And I think it would really appeal to a very specific set of students, which again I'll talk about later. So like my previous videos, I'm going to do 3 things. Quick plot summary, just enough so that you know kind of the main points, what it's about. This one will be a bit easier to summarize than my previous 2 books because it has a much more linear plot. Then I'll talk briefly about ways that you can use this book in your classroom. Specifically today I'm going to talk about interdisciplinary connections between English and science, which could be really cool to open up with this book. And then at the end I'll talk about what kinds of students you could recommend this book to that they would really love it. So Shipbreaker, quick plot summary. It takes place in a futuristic, kind of vaguely dystopian America where the search for oil has basically destroyed a lot of different things. And it's not one of those fantasy novels that outlines kind of how things got this way in this like vaguely historical like kind of prologue. So, you know, in 2152, World War IV ravaged North America, and this happened, and this city was destroyed. It's not one of those books. And I think one of the coolest things is that the author just fully immerses you in this world from the first page. And as a reader, you kind of have to figure out, how did things get this way? You kind of have to get your bearings. There are some hints about how things got this way, but it's kind of a detective game for the reader, and I think that's really interesting. Most of the action takes place on the Gulf Coast, where most cities have been destroyed. They've been drowned by these city killer storms. There's been a lot of interesting kind of climate change, which I'll talk about later when I get into the science connections. And the kind of ghosts of these old oil tankers are washed up on shore. And basically the only way for teenagers to make a living in this kind of poverty-stricken, destroyed area is to work as shipbreakers. So basically crews of teenagers go on board these destroyed ships and kind of scrounge for parts. They basically break the ships down. And so our story focuses on one of these shipbreakers. He's about 15 years old. His name is Naylor Lopez. So he's kind of our protagonist. And Naylor's kind of got a lot going on in his life. Obviously, he's trying to make ends meet, trying to work as a shipbreaker, which is really dangerous. He has kind of a drug addict, abusive father that he's trying to deal with as well. And he's a cool kid. He dreams of, you know, one day boarding one of these fast clipper ships and kind of sailing away from his life and kind of making a better life for himself. So he's a really cool character. Basically, the action of the story focuses on one day when there's a huge city killer storm and one of these really fast clippers is washed up on shore. And so he and one of his friends go on board. They're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be such a lucky strike for us. Like, we're going to be able to break down this ship and make so much money and make a better life for ourselves. And they find one survivor on board the ship. Her name is Nita Chaudhry, and she is the daughter of one of the owners of the biggest shipping corporation in the world. So it's all about kind of Naylor and Nita kind of teaming up, and she has kind of ghosts in her past as well, and so it's them kind of fleeing and going on this adventure together on the high seas. It's cool. There's a lot of action and fight scenes and interesting, all kinds of different dynamics between the characters. It's a really fast-paced, engaging read. So, in terms of what you could use this book to teach, one thing stood out to me the whole time I was reading, and that was, wow, this would be a great book to do some kind of cross-curricular activities. Primarily because I think there's not a lot explained, deliberately so I think, in terms of how the world got this way. There are a few implicit kind of clues or hints. Occasionally the author will say things like, back in the accelerated age, which I guess would be now, people were drilling for oil in these like barrier islands in the Caribbean, and they destroyed these islands, and that led to this climate shift that caused all these city killer storms that ravaged the coast and drowned the cities, and all of this stuff involving oil. It almost serves as kind of this warning to us today. And I think it would be really cool to have the students in their science class, as they're reading this in English, kind of work out the climate angle of it in terms of how this all happened and what could happen, that kind of chain reaction of events that could lead to this world that's being described in the book. So I think it'd be an excellent way to team up between English and science. What kind of students would this book appeal to? Primarily male readers. I think girls would like it as well, but it is very action-packed. And again, I'm not generalizing that only boys like action-packed adventure stories. But I am on this continual quest to find well-written books for boys. And I think far too often books like this that are very action-packed and they have great fight scenes and like high-speed chases on the high seas, they tend not to be very well written. And this book has both of those things going for it. It is action-packed, it's interesting, it's engaging, it's a page-turner, but it's also really beautifully written, and I think that's awesome. I think that a specific set of boys would really love this book, specifically reluctant male readers, I think would love this. I'm often looking for kind of a gateway book after things like Hunger Games or Maximum Ride, when kids say, okay, I read the series, what do I read now? And I'm always kind of at a loss. I think this would be an excellent book to say, okay, you like that? How about trying Shipbreaker? And the cool thing is that there is kind of a sequel or companion book to this called The Drowned Cities that I think just came out. So it'd be a cool series to get the kids into. So that's Shipbreaker. I really loved it. I hope that you recommend this to your kids and read it yourself, because it's really beautifully written. I think it's a really cool, interesting world that the author has crafted. So next up is a Prince Award winner from 2011. It's called Please Ignore Vera Dietz by A.S. King. Really excited about this one. I'm excited about all young adult books. This is not like a surprise. I'm sure it's sounding very repetitive, but I always am genuinely excited about these books. So I'll be reading that one this week and posting my review video hopefully by the weekend. So thanks for tuning in. Hope everyone's having a great week, and I will see you back here soon. Bye!